Chapter 4, Transcendental Knowledge. The wise Lord Sri Krishna once shared profound wisdom with the sun god, Vaivasvan. This wisdom passed down through generations, from Vaivasvan to Manu, the father of all humans, and then to Ikshvaku. This ancient knowledge, originating from the sun, has a history of being handed down to kings on various planets. Kings have a special duty to protect their people, and understanding the teachings of Bhagavad Gita helps them govern justly and shield their subjects from harmful desires. Human life is meant for spiritual growth, connecting with the Supreme, and leaders must pass on this wisdom through education and devotion. In our current time, the sun god, known as Vaivasvan, plays a vital role in providing heat and light to all planets. In simple terms, the sun is like the eye of the Lord, following his orders. Bhagavad Gita's history dates back to the time of Maharaja Ikshvaku, over 2 million years ago. We are now in the Kali Yuga, having passed through the Dvapara Yuga and Treta Yuga. Around 5,000 years ago, the Lord reiterated the Gita's teachings to Arjuna. The knowledge in Bhagavad Gita is not just for scholars, it's a timeless guide for everyone. It was spoken to the sun god Vaivasvan, a warrior, and the father of all warrior descendants. Bhagavad Gita is considered superhuman knowledge since it comes directly from the Supreme. To truly understand Bhagavad Gita, we should accept it as it is, without trying to interpret it in mundane ways. The teachings have been passed down through a reliable lineage. The Lord spoke to the sun god, who spoke to Manu, and Manu passed it on to Ikshvaku. This wisdom is a timeless guide for leading a fulfilling life. The Bhagavad Gita, a supreme science, was passed down through a chain of teachers, but over time, the succession was broken, leading to various interpretations. The Gita was originally meant for saintly kings, but demonic persons distorted its meaning. Recognizing the need to restore the authentic teachings, efforts are made to present the Gita in English according to the authorized disciplic succession. Many editions exist, but some follow the true devotional path while others are misguided. Arjuna, a devotee, accepts Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Commentaries aligned with Arjuna's understanding contribute to the real devotional service. Demonic interpretations mislead readers. Arjuna, as a sincere devotee, questions Krishna about instructing the sun god Vaivasvan. This is not Arjuna's doubt but a means to clarify for non-believers or demons. Arjuna knows Krishna's divinity but poses the question for others' benefit. Inquiring about Krishna's original nature, Arjuna seeks authoritative clarification. Krishna's self-description is crucial for all, though demons may find it strange. Devotees welcome Krishna's words, eager to understand more about him. This dialogue dispels misconceptions and establishes Krishna's transcendental, superhuman nature. Krishna explains to Arjuna that both of them have undergone many births, but Krishna can remember all of them, while Arjuna cannot. The Brahma Samhita describes Krishna as the original, absolute, an infallible person who appears in various incarnations like Rama and Nrisimha. In contrast to ordinary living beings, Krishna's body is eternal and does not deteriorate. Even though he may appear to grow from childhood to youth, he never ages beyond youth. His appearance and disappearance are like the sun rising and setting, and he is always the same, unaffected by material nature. Krishna's birth in this world is due to his causeless mercy, and it serves the purpose of allowing living entities to focus on the Supreme Lord as he is, rather than creating mental imaginations. Krishna's consciousness remains constant across all his appearances, unlike ordinary beings who forget their past lives with each new birth. The question of why Krishna appears and disappears in this world is addressed in the following verse. Whenever and wherever there is a decline in religious practice, O descendant of Bharata, and a predominant rise of irreligion, at that time I descend myself. The word Sajami is significant herein. Sajami cannot be used in the sense of creation, because, according to the previous verse, there is no creation of the Lord's form or body, since all of the forms are eternally existent. Therefore, Sajami means that the Lord manifests himself as he is. Although the Lord appears on schedule, namely at the end of the Dvapara Yuga of the 28th millennium of the 7th Manu in one day of Brahma, he has no obligation to adhere to such rules and regulations, because he is completely free to act in many ways at his will. He therefore appears by his own will whenever there is a predominance of irreligiosity and a disappearance of true religion. Principles of religion are laid down in the Vedas, and any discrepancy in the matter of properly executing the rules of the Vedas makes one irreligious. In the Bhagavatam it is stated that such principles are the laws of the Lord. Only the Lord can manufacture a system of religion. The Vedas also accepted as originally spoken by the Lord himself to Brahma from within his heart. Therefore, the principles of Dharma, or religion, are the direct orders of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Dharmam tu Sakshad Bhagavat Pranitam. These principles are clearly indicated throughout the Bhagavad Gita. The purpose of the Vedas is to establish such principles under the order of the Supreme Lord, and the Lord directly orders, at the end of that the highest principle of religion is to surrender unto him only, and nothing more. The Vedic principles push one towards complete surrender unto him, and whenever such principles are disturbed by the demoniac, the Lord appears. From the Bhagavatam we understand that Lord Buddha is the incarnation of Krishna who appeared when materialism was rampant, and materialists were using the pretext of the authority of the Vedas. Although there are certain restrictive rules and regulations regarding animal sacrifice for particular purposes in the Vedas, people of demonic tendency still took to animal sacrifice without reference to the Vedic principles. Lord Buddha appeared to stop this nonsense and to establish the Vedic principles of non-violence. Therefore each and every avatara, or incarnation of the Lord, has a particular mission, and they are all described in the revealed scriptures. No one should be accepted as an avatara unless he is referred to by scriptures. It is not a fact that the Lord appears only on Indian soil. He can manifest himself anywhere and everywhere, and whenever he desires to appear. In each and every incarnation, he speaks as much about religion as can be understood by the particular people under their particular circumstances. But the mission is the same, to lead people to God consciousness and obedience to the principles of religion. Sometimes he descends personally, and sometimes he sends his bona fide representative in the form of his son, or servant, or himself in some disguised form. The principles of the Bhagavad Gita were spoken to Arjuna, and, for that matter, to other highly elevated persons, because he was highly advanced compared to ordinary persons in other parts of the world. 2 + 2 = 4 is a mathematical principle that is true in the beginner's arithmetic class and in the advanced class as well. Still, there are higher and lower mathematics. In all incarnations of the Lord, therefore, the same principles are taught, but they appear to be higher and lower in varied circumstances. The higher principles of religion begin with the acceptance of the 4 orders and the 4 statuses of social life, as will be explained later. The whole purpose of the mission of incarnations is to arouse Krishna consciousness everywhere. So consciousness is manifest and non-manifest only under different circumstances. According to Bhagavad Gita, a sadhu, holy man, is a man in Krishna consciousness. A person may appear to be irreligious, but if he has the qualifications of Krishna consciousness wholly and fully, he is to be understood to be a sadhu. And daskatam applies to those who do not care for Krishna consciousness. Such miscreants, or daskatam, are described as foolish and the lowest of mankind, even though they may be decorated with mundane education, whereas a person who is 100% engaged in Krishna consciousness is accepted as a sadhu, even though such a person may be neither learned nor well-cultured. As far as the atheistic are concerned, it is not necessary for the Supreme Lord to appear as he is to destroy them, as he did with the demons Ravana and Kamsa. The Lord has many agents who are quite competent to vanquish demons. But the Lord especially descends to appease his unalloyed devotees, who are always harassed by the demoniac. The demon harasses the devotee, even though the latter may happen to be his kin. Although Prahlada Maharaja was the son of Hiranyakashipu, he was nonetheless persecuted by his father, although Devaki, the mother of Krishna, was the sister of Kamsa. She and her husband Vasudeva were persecuted only because Krishna was to be born of them. So Lord Krishna appeared primarily to deliver Devaki, rather than kill Kamsa, but both were performed simultaneously. Therefore it is said here that to deliver the devotee and vanquish the demon miscreants, the Lord appears in different incarnations. In the Caitanya Charitamrita of Krishnadasa Kaviraja, the following verses, Madhya 20.263-264, summarize these principles of incarnation, the Avatara. Shrishtihitu ye murti prapanch avatar isi isvara murti savatara. Nama der mayatita paravayam sabara avasthana vishva avatarya der avatara nama, or incarnation of Godhead, descends from the kingdom of God for material manifestation. And the particular form of the personality of Godhead who so descends is called an incarnation, or avatara. Such incarnations are situated in the spiritual world, the kingdom of God. When they descend to the material creation, they assume the name avatara. There are various kinds of avatars, such as Purushavatas, Gunavataras, Leelavataras, Shaktivisha avatars, Manvantara avatars, and Yugavataras, all appearing on schedule all over the universe. But Lord Krishna is the primeval Lord, the fountainhead of all avatars. Lord Sri Krishna descends for the specific purpose of mitigating the anxieties of the pure devotees, who are very anxious to see him in his original Vrindavana pastimes. Therefore, the prime purpose of the Krishna Avatara is to satisfy his unalloyed devotees. The Lord says that he incarnates himself in every millennium. This indicates that he incarnates also in the age of Kali. As stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the incarnation in the age of Kali is Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu, who spread the worship of Krishna by the Sankirtana movement, congregational chanting of the holy names, and spread Krishna consciousness throughout India. He predicted that this culture of Sankirtana would be broadcast all over the world, from town to town and village to village. Lord Caitanya as the incarnation of Krishna, the personality of Godhead, is described secretly but not directly in the confidential parts of the revealed scriptures, such as the Upanishads, Mahabharata and Bhagavatam. The devotees of Lord Krishna are very much attracted by the Sankirtana movement of Lord Caitanya. This avatar of the Lord does not kill the miscreants, but delivers them by his causeless mercy. One who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode, O Arjuna. The Lord's descent from his transcendental abode is already explained in the 6th verse. One who can understand the truth of the appearance of the personality of Godhead is already liberated from material bondage, and therefore he returns to the kingdom of God immediately after quitting this present material body. Such liberation of the living entity from material bondage is not at all easy. The impersonalists and the yogis attain liberation only after much trouble and many, many births. Even then, the liberation they achieve, merging into the impersonal Brahmajyoti of the Lord, is only partial, and there is the risk of returning to this material world. But the devotee, simply by understanding the transcendental nature of the body and activities of the Lord, attains the abode of the Lord after ending this body and does not run the risk of returning to this material world. In the Brahma Samhita 5.33, it is stated that the Lord has many, many forms and incarnations, Advaitam Asayutam Anadim Anantarupam. Although there are many transcendental forms of the Lord, they are still one and the same Supreme Personality of Godhead. One has to understand this fact with conviction, although it is incomprehensible to mundane scholars and empiric philosophers. As stated in the Vedas, Purushabodhini Upanishad, the one Supreme Personality of Godhead is eternally engaged in many, many transcendental forms in relationships with his unalloyed devotees. This Vedic version is confirmed in this verse of the Gita personally by the Lord. He who accepts this truth on the strength of the authority of the Vedas and of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and who does not waste time in philosophical speculations attains the highest perfectional stage of liberation. Simply by accepting this truth on faith, one can, without a doubt, attain liberation. The Vedic version Tattvam ACI is actually applied in this case. Anyone who understands Lord Krishna to be the Supreme, or who says unto the Lord you are the same Supreme Brahmin, the personality of Godhead, is certainly liberated instantly, and consequently his entrance into the transcendental association of the Lord is guaranteed. In other words, such a faithful devotee of the Lord attains perfection, and this is confirmed by the following Vedic assertion. One can attain the perfect stage of liberation from birth and death simply by knowing the Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and there is no other way to achieve this perfection. Shvetashvatara Upanishad 3.8. That there is no alternative means that anyone who does not understand Lord Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead is surely in the mode of ignorance, and consequently he will not attain salvation simply, so to speak, by licking the outer surface of the bottle of honey, or by interpreting the according to mundane scholarship. Such empiric philosophers may assume very important roles in the material world, but they are not necessarily eligible for liberation. Such puffed-up mundane scholars have to wait for the causeless mercy of the devotee of the Lord. One should therefore cultivate Krishna consciousness with faith and knowledge, and in this way attain perfection. To deliver the pious and to annihilate the miscreants, as well as to re-establish the principles of religion, I myself appear, millennium after millennium. According to Bhagavad Gita, a sadhu, holy person, is someone in Krishna consciousness. A person may seem irreligious, but if they are holy and fully devoted to Krishna consciousness, they are considered a sadhu. The term daskatam applies to those who do not care for Krishna consciousness. Such miscreants, described as foolish and the lowest of mankind, may possess mundane education, but a person completely engaged in Krishna consciousness is accepted as a sadhu, regardless of their worldly knowledge or culture. For the atheistic, the Supreme Lord doesn't need to manifest in his true form to destroy them, as he did with the demons Ravana and Kamsa. The Lord has capable agents to deal with such miscreants. However, the Lord descends specifically to console his devoted followers, who are always troubled by the demoniac. The demon harasses the devotee, even if they happen to be kin. For instance, Prahlada Maharaja, though the son of Hiranyakashipu, was persecuted by his father. Similarly, Devaki, the mother of Krishna, and her husband Vasudeva, faced persecution because Krishna was to be born to them. So, Lord Krishna's primary purpose was to deliver Devaki, and the demise of Kamsa happened simultaneously. Thus, to rescue the devotee and defeat the demon miscreants, the Lord takes various incarnations. According to the Caitanya Charitamrita of Krishnadasa Kaviraja, the Avatara, or incarnation of Godhead, descends from the kingdom of God for material manifestation. The particular form of the personality of Godhead who descends is called an incarnation, or Avatara. These incarnations reside in the spiritual world, the kingdom of God, and when they descend to the material creation, they assume the name Avatara. There are various types of avatars, such as Purushavatas, Gunavataras, Leelavataras, Shaktivesha avatars, Manvantara avatars, and Yugavataras, all appearing regularly throughout the universe. However, Lord Krishna is the primeval Lord, the source of all avatars. He descends to alleviate the anxieties of his pure devotees, who eagerly anticipate his original Vrindavana pastimes. Thus, the primary purpose of Krishna's incarnation is to please his unalloyed devotees. The Lord mentions that he incarnates in every millennium, indicating his descent even in the age of Kali. As stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu is the incarnation in the age of Kali, spreading the worship of Krishna through the Sankirtana movement, congregational chanting of the holy names, and disseminating Krishna consciousness across India. Lord Caitanya, as an incarnation of Krishna, is subtly described in the confidential sections of scriptures like the Upanishads, Mahabharata, and Bhagavatam. Devotees are especially attracted to Lord Caitanya's Sankirtana movement. This divine incarnation doesn't annihilate miscreants but delivers them through causeless mercy. Understanding the transcendental nature of the Lord's appearance and activities liberates a person from the cycle of birth and death. Such liberation is not easily achieved by impersonalists and yogis, who often undergo numerous births and, even upon liberation, risk returning to the material world. However, a devotee, by comprehending the transcendental nature of the Lord's body and actions, attains the Lord's abode after leaving the material body, avoiding the risk of a material world return. The Brahma Samhita states that the Lord has many forms and incarnations, all being the same Supreme Personality of Godhead. This truth, although challenging for scholars and philosophers, is accepted with faith by devotees. The verse Tattvam Asi from the Vedas applies here. Anyone recognizing Lord Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead attains liberation, and is guaranteed entrance into the Lord's transcendental association. This understanding brings perfection, as affirmed by the Vedic assertion. One can attain the perfect stage of liberation from birth and death simply by knowing the Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and there is no other way to achieve this perfection, Shvetashvatara Upanishad. Those who don't recognize Lord Krishna as the Supreme are in ignorance, and their salvation is not guaranteed merely through scholarly interpretations. Such scholars may play important roles in the material world but must wait for the causeless mercy of a devotee for true liberation. Hence, one should cultivate Krishna consciousness with faith and knowledge to attain perfection. As everyone surrenders to me, I reciprocate accordingly. All seekers are on their unique journey, seeking Krishna in different manifestations. Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is realized in various ways, as the impersonal Brahma-Jyoti effulgence, as the all-pervading Supersoul within all beings, and fully as understood by his pure devotees alone. In the transcendental realm, Krishna reciprocates with his devotees based on their personal desires. Some seek him as the ultimate master, others as a dear friend, some as a son, and yet others as a lover. Krishna rewards all devotees equally, aligning with the depth of their love for him. In the material world, similar reciprocal relationships exist, and they are exchanged by the Lord with different types of worshippers. Pure devotees, both in this world and the transcendental abode, intimately associate with Krishna, rendering personal service and experiencing transcendental bliss in his loving service. However, for impersonalists aiming to dissolve individual existence, Krishna assists by absorbing them into his effulgence. Such individuals, rejecting the eternal, blissful personality of Godhead, miss the joy of transcendental personal service to the Lord and often end up returning to the material realm, driven by dormant desires for worldly activities. For those engaged in fruitive activities, the Lord grants the desired results of their duties, functioning as the Yajnekvara. Similarly, yogis seeking mystic powers receive those powers from the Lord. In essence, everyone relies on the Lord's mercy for success, and various spiritual practices represent different stages on the same path. Without reaching the highest perfection of Krishna consciousness, all endeavors remain incomplete, as stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the 2nd of March, 10. Whether one is without desire, desirous of fruitive results, or seeking liberation, all should strive to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead for complete perfection in Krishna consciousness. In this world, people often desire success in their material pursuits and worship demigods for quick results. However, there is a misconception about these demigods. They are not different forms of God, but rather his various delegated parts and parcels. While God is one, the demigods are numerous living entities with distinct levels of material power. Equating demigods with the Supreme Lord is an error, and those who do so are considered atheists. Even prominent demigods like Brahma and Shiva, though powerful, cannot be compared to the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is worshipped by demigods like Brahma and Shiva. However, some people, misled by anthropomorphism or zoomorphism, may mistakenly worship powerful human leaders as if they were divine. In contrast, an intelligent person in Krishna consciousness understands that the Supreme Lord is beyond this material creation, and worshipping demigods for temporary benefits is unnecessary. Such worship leads only to temporary and fleeting results meant for those less intelligent. A devotee's intelligence lies in Krishna consciousness, where there's no need to worship demigods for transient gains. The demigods, along with their worshippers, are temporary, and their boons are also temporary. In the grand cosmic scheme, both the material worlds and their inhabitants, including demigods and their followers, are like bubbles in the cosmic ocean. Yet, the madness of human society persists as people ardently pursue transient material opulence, land, family, and enjoyable paraphernalia. They engage in worshipping demigods or influential figures in human society to attain temporary gains, remaining oblivious to the permanent solution offered by Krishna consciousness for the challenges of material existence. Such individuals are more inclined towards sense enjoyment, seeking temporary facilities for their desires and turning to empowered living entities known as demigods, rather than embracing the enduring joy of Krishna consciousness. Lord Krishna explains that he created the social order, which includes intellectuals, administrators, merchants, and laborious. Despite being the creator, he is beyond these divisions, not a conditioned soul like us. The divisions aim to lift human society to a higher consciousness. People's tendencies and actions are influenced by the modes of material nature. Those who go beyond limited knowledge and understand Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead reach a state of Krishna consciousness. In this state, they are beyond societal divisions and not entangled in the results of their actions. Krishna, as the creator, remains unaffected by the material world's activities, while living entities experience the reactions of their deeds. The Lord provides the necessary facilities for their actions but is not responsible for the results. The responsibility lies with individual living entities based on their past and present activities. Those who grasp this truth are experienced in Krishna consciousness and are not affected by the laws of karma. However, those who misunderstand Krishna's activities as ordinary, driven by personal gain, get entangled in the results of their actions. There are two types of people, those burdened with impurities and those already purified. Krishna consciousness benefits both. The impure can gradually cleanse themselves by following devotional principles, while the purified can set an example for others. Arjuna is advised to act in Krishna consciousness, not retire from activities. Acting in line with previous devotees' examples is vital, avoiding independent action. To explain Krishna consciousness, the Lord directly instructs Arjuna, ensuring that those who follow his path won't be bewildered. The principles of religion can't be determined by imperfect knowledge, they are laid down by the Lord. Acting in Krishna consciousness, guided by authoritative figures, liberates a person from material entanglement. If you want to break free from material bondage and truly understand how to live a liberated life, you need to grasp the differences between different types of actions, right actions, wrong actions, and actions done without proper authorization. This is a complex subject, and to comprehend it, you must analyze the nature of action, reaction, and distorted actions. To embrace Krishna consciousness and align your actions with its principles, you must recognize your relationship with the Supreme. A true understanding involves realizing that every living being is an eternal servant of the Lord. Consequently, one should act in Krishna consciousness. The entire Bhagavad Gita is centered around this idea. Any conclusions or actions that go against this consciousness are considered prohibited. To truly understand this, one should associate with authorities in Krishna consciousness and learn from them. This is as good as learning directly from the Lord. Without such guidance, even the most intelligent individuals can become confused. Someone who perceives inaction in action and action in inaction is considered intelligent. Such a person is in a transcendental position, even while engaged in various activities. A person acting in Krishna consciousness is free from the bondage of karma. All their actions are performed for Krishna, and therefore, they do not experience the usual consequences of work. Such a person is considered intelligent in society, despite being engaged in diverse activities for Krishna. Akarma refers to actions without reactions. The impersonalist stops engaging in activities out of fear that the results might hinder self-realization. On the other hand, the personalist understands their eternal servitorship to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and engages in Krishna consciousness activities. Because everything is done for Krishna, they enjoy only transcendental happiness in their service. Such individuals are immune to the reactionary elements of work. A person in full knowledge is someone who acts without any desire for personal sense gratification. Such a person is considered learned, having burned up the reactions to work through perfect knowledge of their eternal servitorship to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The development of this knowledge is likened to a fire that can burn up all reactions to work. By abandoning attachment to the results of their activities and being content and independent, a person in Krishna consciousness performs actions without any attachment. This freedom from the bondage of actions is only possible in Krishna consciousness, where one acts out of pure love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such a person is not even attached to personal maintenance, nor are they anxious to acquire or protect possessions. They do their duty to the best of their ability and leave everything to Krishna. This kind of unattached person is free from the positive and negative reactions of their actions. This state is known as akarma, actions without fruitive reactions. Any other action, without Krishna consciousness, binds the doer, and that is the essence of vikarma, as explained earlier. A wise person, who understands things clearly, acts with a controlled mind and intelligence. He lets go of the idea that he owns anything and only works for basic needs. In this way, he avoids negative consequences of his actions. A Krishna-conscious person doesn't expect good or bad outcomes in his activities. He knows he is a part of the Supreme and that his actions are guided by the Supreme. Just like a machine part moves as part of the whole machine, a Krishna-conscious person aligns his actions with the Supreme desire, without personal desires. He takes care of himself just enough to stay fit for serving the Lord. He is not attached to his body or material possessions, acting more like a part of a machine. He doesn't use unfair means to make money, and thus remains free from material sins. Such a person is content with whatever comes to him naturally and doesn't envy others. He remains steady in success and failure, not getting entangled in the dualities of the material world. He doesn't put much effort into maintaining his body but works honestly and independently for his livelihood, without allowing it to interfere with his Krishna consciousness. A Krishna-conscious person acts for the satisfaction of Krishna, and is unaffected by the dualities of the material world like heat and cold, or happiness and misery. He is steady in all situations, demonstrating signs of transcendental knowledge. His work, done without attachment to material modes, merges into transcendence. By being fully Krishna-conscious, he becomes free from material contamination, as he understands his constitutional position in relation to Krishna. Whatever he does becomes a sacrifice aimed at satisfying the Supreme Person, and the reactions of his work merge into transcendence, sparing him from material effects. A person completely focused on Krishna consciousness is sure to reach the spiritual realm. This happens because their contributions to spiritual activities are thorough and aligned with the same spiritual essence. The process of Krishna consciousness is like using the right medicine to cure an ailment. When someone is stuck in material concerns and acts in the material world, they need to break free. Krishna consciousness serves as the solution. Just as curds can help with a digestive issue caused by milk, Krishna consciousness can remedy the material absorption of a conditioned soul. Krishna consciousness involves actions like sacrifices meant to satisfy Krishna or Vishnu. The term Brahmin refers to the spiritual, and Krishna, as the Supreme, is also spiritual. The material world becomes spiritualized through Krishna consciousness, where everything is offered for Krishna's sake. Krishna consciousness is the process of transforming illusory awareness into the Supreme Brahmin. When the mind is fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness, it's in a state of trance. Actions performed in this state are seen as sacrifices for the Absolute. Various types of sacrifices exist, such as those for demigods or the impersonal aspect of the Supreme Lord. Krishna-conscious individuals sacrifice all material possessions for Krishna's satisfaction, while others sacrifice for temporary material happiness or for merging into the impersonal Brahmin. Krishna-conscious sacrifice involves offering everything for Krishna's satisfaction, including one's own self, without losing individual existence. Different stages of human life, like being a celibate student, a householder, a retiree, or a renunciant, are meant to lead to perfection or transcendentalism. Celibate students control their minds by avoiding sense gratification and immerse themselves in hearing about Krishna consciousness. Householders, with some permission for sense gratification, practice restraint in sex life, intoxication, and meat eating as part of their sacrifice for a higher, transcendental life. Some people aim for self-realization by controlling their mind and senses. They offer the functions of their senses and life breath as offerings into the fire of a controlled mind, following the yoga system taught by Patanjali. This system guides one on how to control the body's air functions, making them favorable for purifying the soul. There are various ways people sacrifice for spiritual elevation. Some give up their possessions, others endure severe austerities or follow the yoga of eightfold mysticism. Some engage in charitable activities, while others accept austerities like not shaving or restricting their diet. All these sacrifices fall into different categories but share the common goal of seeking a higher status in life. Krishna consciousness is different from these because it involves the direct service of the Supreme Lord. It cannot be achieved through the types of sacrifice mentioned above but is attained only by the mercy of the Lord and his genuine devotees. Some individuals, inclined toward breath restraint to enter into trance, practice by offering the outgoing breath into the incoming and vice versa. Others curtail their eating process, offering the outgoing breath into itself as a sacrifice. This practice, known as pranayama, involves controlling the breathing process through different sitting postures, aiming to control the senses and advance in spiritual realization. A Krishna-conscious person engaged in the loving service of the Lord naturally becomes the controller of the senses. Since their senses are always dedicated to Krishna's service, there's no chance of them becoming otherwise engaged. Such a person is automatically elevated to the transcendental platform and eventually enters the abode of the Lord without delay. Reducing the eating process is beneficial for sense control, and this is easily achieved by consuming only Krishna prasadam, food offered first to the Lord. Sense control is crucial for escaping material entanglement, and a Krishna-conscious person starts from a transcendental stage, avoiding the risk of falling down and ultimately reaching the abode of the Lord. All those who understand the purpose of sacrifice get rid of their sinful reactions. By experiencing the positive outcomes of sacrifice, they progress towards a supreme, eternal atmosphere. The various types of sacrifice, whether giving up possessions, studying Vedas, practicing yoga, or others, all share a common goal: controlling the senses. Since indulging the senses is the root cause of our material existence, achieving a state beyond sense gratification is essential for reaching the eternal platform of full knowledge, bliss, and life. These sacrifices help cleanse us of the sinful reactions in our lives. As we advance, we not only become happier and more prosperous in this life, but also enter the eternal kingdom in the end. This could mean merging into the impersonal Brahmin or associating with the Supreme Personality, Krishna. Without sacrifice, true happiness in this life or the next is impossible. Regardless of our form of existence, we are often ignorant of our real situation. The material world is a result of the many reactions to our sinful lives. Ignorance leads to sinful actions, and sinful actions keep us trapped in material existence. The human form of life provides an opportunity to break free. The Vedas guide us, offering paths of religion, economic well-being, controlled sense enjoyment, and ultimately, liberation from misery. Following the path of religion, or engaging in various recommended sacrifices, helps solve economic problems. Through sacrifice, we can ensure an ample supply of food and necessities. Once our basic needs are met, the next step is satisfying our senses. The Vedas prescribe sacred marriage for regulated sense gratification. This gradual process elevates us to a state of freedom from material bondage, and the ultimate perfection is to associate with the Supreme. Perfection is achieved through sacrifice, as described earlier. If a person is not inclined to follow the Vedic principles of sacrifice, it becomes challenging to expect a happy life, even in the present body, let alone in another body on a different planet. Different heavenly planets offer varying degrees of material comforts, and engaging in different kinds of sacrifice brings immense happiness. However, the highest form of happiness is achieved by practicing Krishna consciousness. A life dedicated to Krishna consciousness is the solution to all the challenges of material existence. All these various types of sacrifice, as outlined in the Vedas, cater to different types of individuals. Recognizing them will lead to liberation. The Vedas have suggested different types of sacrifice to accommodate people who are absorbed in the bodily concept. These sacrifices are designed to allow individuals to work with their body, mind, or intelligence. Regardless of the type, the goal is to ultimately achieve liberation from the body. The Lord confirms this, emphasizing that sacrifices performed with knowledge are superior to mere sacrifices of material possessions. In essence, all sacrifices lead to transcendental knowledge. The purpose of sacrifices is to attain complete knowledge, free oneself from material miseries, and engage in loving service to the Supreme Lord, Krishna consciousness. However, there is a mystery surrounding these various sacrificial activities that one should understand. Sacrifices may take different forms based on the faith of the performer. When faith reaches the stage of transcendental knowledge, those who perform sacrifices with such knowledge are considered more advanced than those who merely sacrifice material possessions without this knowledge. Without knowledge, sacrifices remain on the material platform, providing no spiritual benefit. Real knowledge culminates in Krishna consciousness, the highest stage of transcendental knowledge. Without the elevation of knowledge, sacrifices are mere material activities. Depending on consciousness, sacrificial activities are sometimes termed karmakanda, fruitive activities, or jnanakanda, knowledge in the pursuit of truth. It is better when the goal is knowledge. To learn the truth, the Lord advises approaching a bona fide spiritual master in the disciplic succession. Spiritual realization is challenging, and the guidance of a genuine spiritual master is essential. No one can be a bona fide spiritual master without following the disciplic succession principle. The Bhagavatam states that the path of religion is directly explained by the Lord. Mental speculation or independent study cannot lead one to the right path. Acceptance of a bona fide spiritual master, full surrender, and service to the master without false prestige are crucial. Advancement in spiritual life lies in satisfying the self-realized spiritual master through proper inquiries and submission. Both blind following and absurd inquiries are criticized. Effective learning occurs when one hears submissively from the spiritual master, gains clear understanding through submission, service, and inquiries, and passes the test of the spiritual master. A genuine spiritual master reciprocates with knowledge and blessings when the disciple is submissive and ready to render service. Obtaining real knowledge from someone who understands the truth, you won't fall back into illusion. This knowledge reveals that all living beings are parts of the Supreme, or, in other words, they belong to the same source. The concept of a separate existence from the Supreme is an illusion called ma with macron ya with macron. Some think Ka is merely a historical figure, and the Absolute is the impersonal Brahmin. However, the impersonal Brahmin is the personal effulgence of Ka. Ka is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the cause of everything, and the living entities are his expansions. The bodily differences among living entities are illusions. We are all meant to satisfy Ka. Due to a lack of knowledge, we are covered with illusion, thinking we are separate from Ka. However, in reality, we are not different from him. Forgetfulness of our eternal spiritual relationship with Ka leads to various bodily identities, like being human, animal, or demigod. Engaging in transcendental service through Ka consciousness liberates us from this illusion. Pure knowledge is acquired from a bona fide spiritual master, helping us understand that the living entity is not equal to Ka. Liberation means realizing our eternal position as servants of Ka. Even if considered the most sinful, with transcendental knowledge, you can cross over the ocean of miseries. Understanding our relationship with Ka lifts us from the struggles in the ocean of ignorance. The material world is often seen as an ocean of ignorance or a blazing forest. The struggle for existence is severe, but the boat of Ka consciousness is simple and sublime. The fire of knowledge burns the reactions to both impious and pious activities, turning them to ashes. Transcendental knowledge is the mature fruit of mysticism, and a person dedicated to it enjoys peace within. Ignorance binds us, and knowledge liberates. Ka consciousness is the pinnacle of this knowledge. Faithful dedication to transcendental knowledge, combined with sense control, leads to spiritual peace. This knowledge can be attained by faithfully engaging in Ka consciousness, cleansing the heart through the chanting of the Hare Ka mantra and controlling the senses. But those who doubt the revealed scriptures and lack faith do not attain God consciousness, they fall down. Doubting souls find no happiness in this world or the next. The Bhagavad Gita is the best among the revealed scriptures. Some, like animals, lack faith or knowledge in these scriptures. Others may know the scriptures but lack faith in them. Even those with faith may not believe in or worship the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. Such individuals cannot make progress in Krishna consciousness and fall down. Doubtful persons make no progress at all and find no happiness. To avoid this, follow the principles of revealed scriptures with faith to elevate yourself to the platform of knowledge. This knowledge leads to spiritual understanding and success. Engaging in devotional service, renouncing the fruits of actions, and destroying doubts with transcendental knowledge situates one in the self, free from the reactions of work. Following the instructions of the Bhagavad Gita imparts transcendental knowledge, destroying doubts and establishing one in self-knowledge. Doubts arising from ignorance should be slashed with the weapon of knowledge. The eternal activities described in this chapter are the yoga system, including sacrifices of material possessions and knowledge of the self. Sacrifices without a spiritual objective become material. Bhagavad Gita followers easily understand the two important divisions of spiritual knowledge, understanding one's own self and the truth about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Ignorance can be removed gradually through the acceptance of Krishna consciousness principles. Seek a bona fide spiritual master and study Bhagavad Gita under their guidance, serving with surrender. The Lord's instructions are eternal, and a bona fide spiritual master adheres to them. Understanding Krishna as the Supreme Person leads to liberation from the beginning of one study of Bhagavad Gita. Beware of those who deviate from the actual path for personal gain. Understanding the Lord's transcendental activities leads to liberation. This concludes the purports to the 4th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita in the matter of transcendental knowledge.